Hello students, today we'll study pollution of air and water. Pollution of air and water. So here in this lecture we will study that introduction to air pollution first. Okay. So here the air pollution, as you know that we are very much familiar to this term, that is the air pollution, because around us we can see so many vehicles. They have so many vehicles, we have also so many industries we have, and also there may be some volcano eruption, and also there may be type of there may be some type of vehicles which are used for the agriculture also. So all these vehicles, they will just create the air pollution, right? So the substances that contaminates the air and water is known as pollutants. So pollutants means the substances which contaminates the air. So contaminates air or water or soil. Okay, water, soil, these are called pollutants. These are called pollutants. Okay. Now, here, you know that one thing. So, these are called pollutants, and air gets polluted by natural sources, smoke and dust arising from the forest fires and volcanic eruption. So, sources natural sources natural sources that are responsible for the air pollution. One is the volcanic eruption. Another is the our forest fires, right? So forest fires, you can see that for these two natural resources, from these two natural resources, we can have the air pollution. Okay. Now, pollutants such as power plant, automobile exhaust, burning of firewood are man-made pollutants. So these are the natural sources. Now, man-made man-made sources. Man-made sources, we have our power plant, okay, thermal power plant, and automobile exhaust. Every time you can see around yourself, there are so many vehicles are there. Also there are so many industrial exhaust will be there. Another thing, that is the burning of firewood. So these are the man-made sources for the air pollution, and these are the natural sources for the air pollution. Okay, so all of these are giving the pollutant in the air, so the air gets pollution. Okay, so air gets polluted. Now here, that means the pollutant means that contaminates the substances that contaminates the air, water, soil, and also other light pollution may be there. So these are the pollutants. And pollutants in the air pollution, we can have the natural sources which are responsible for the pollution, that is volcanic eruption and forest fires. And man-made sources, we can have power plant and automobile exhaust, burning of firewood. Okay. Next, the carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, sulfur dioxide are major pollutants of the air. So, major pollutants of air, first is carbon dioxide, then nitrogen dioxide, and carbon monoxide, methane, sulfur dioxide. These are the these are the major pollutants of the air pollution. And whenever in our air we have certain percentage of carbon, oxygen and also nitrogen gas. But if excessive amount of carbon dioxide, that means in our air we have the carbon dioxide, oxygen and this thing, but if we have excessive amount of carbon dioxide, then you can see that there will be a global warming. It leads to global warming. It leads to global warming. So excessive amount of the percentage of carbon dioxide that will cause some global warming, because the carbon dioxide here, if you have excessive amount of carbon dioxide in air, in atmosphere, at that time you can see that at that time there will be a lot of problem, that means heat will be generated. So here we know that in the atmosphere we can have carbon dioxide, CO2, that CO2 makes up only about 0.04% of the atmosphere, okay, of the atmosphere. And water vapor can vary from water vapor, that is the H2O in vapor condition. In H2O in vapor, you can see that this is the 0 to 4%, okay, 0 to 4%. And you know that if the carbon dioxide will be will increase, at that time there will be a lot of problem. And we have other gases in the atmosphere also, that is nitrogen, that is 78% of the nitrogen, and oxygen, that is our 21% of the oxygen, okay. So in the atmosphere we have carbon dioxide 0.04% of atmosphere, whereas the nitrogen we have 78%. So the nitrogen, whenever it will react with the H2O, or you can see that there will be another composition will be created. So these chemicals, this carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide, methane, sulfur dioxide, these are the very dangerous pollutants of the air, okay. Now the pollution, so pollution means the environmental pollution refers to undesirable changes in the surroundings that have adverse effect on plants, animals, other biological and physical components of the environment. So total environment, we have plants, right? We have animals, we have biological components, some microorganisms, and also we can have different types of microorganisms, and physical components also we have. So these are the different components of the environment. So the environmental pollution, this refers to the undesirable changes but these undesirable changes in the surroundings, but these are undesirable changes, it has adverse effect on these plants, animals, biological components, physical components, that means an environment. So this is called the pollution. Now a substance that causes pollution, that is called pollutant, okay, that is called pollutant. And pollutants can be liquid. So these pollutants, if we see, these pollutants can be liquid, it can be solid, and it can be gaseous also. It can be gaseous also. Okay. So the substance becomes a pollutant when its concentration is greater than the natural abundance, and this increase in concentration is either due to the human activity or natural phenomena. Now these three will be called pollutants if the concentration, because you have seen that the carbon dioxide concentration is 0.04% of the atmosphere. But if the carbon dioxide concentration that rises up to 4%, that means now it is excessive. So these gaseous pollutant, this has the greater value than the normal one. So the natural one. That means you can see that the substance that becomes a pollutant, carbon dioxide is not the pollutant, but excessive carbon dioxide, that is the pollutant, right? Because in our atmosphere, we should have nitrogen, we should have sulfur dioxide, we should have carbon dioxide, but in a proper proportion, right? If you have excessive amount of carbon dioxide, excessive amount of other solids and liquids, you can see at that time these are called pollutants. Okay, so if carbon dioxide that is greater than 0.04%, 0.04% greater than this one, then I will call the carbon dioxide is a pollutant. So it does not mean that carbon dioxide is pollutant for all the time. Okay, clear what is pollutant? Now, next, the types of pollution. We can have the types of pollution: air pollution, we can have water pollution, we can have soil pollution, we can have sound pollution, we can have light pollution. So there are different types of pollutions here. Okay, so there are different types of pollution here, and here you can see that air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and noise pollution, and light pollution. Okay, now the types of pollution. So first, you know that generally we are very much cautious about the maximum pollutions we have, that is the air pollution, that is the air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and noise pollution. Okay, so here you can, in this picture you can see that land pollution means this is the soil pollution, and water pollution, visual pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, all these things have been mentioned here. So there are different types of pollutions, and this pollution may be due to natural cause, and the another cause that is the man-made cause is also there. And due to this, you can see that we are just crying due to this. Okay, so this natural and man-made pollution is making our environment we cannot reside here, right? So now, the other types of pollutions is light pollution, thermal pollution, radioactive pollution. So these are also important. So here, this radioactive pollution, this is deadliest pollution, and whenever we are experimenting for the radioactive, that means for atom bomb, or we are trying for any other type of reactions, then we can have the radioactive pollution. Okay, and this is very, very dangerous, deadliest. Okay, now the air pollution. So air pollution, that refers to the release of contaminants. What are the contaminants? Chemicals, harmful gases, particulates, biological molecules into the atmosphere, right? Here in this picture you can see that this industry, it is just giving out the whatever the exhaust in the atmosphere. So that means it will give the contaminants, that is the chemical contaminants, or that will be released in the atmosphere. So these contaminants are quite detrimental and in some cases pose serious health issues. So here you can see in this picture there will be, here you can see that these are the exhaust of the industries. You can see these are the exhaust of the industries which are creating the air pollution. And the contaminants that are releases the contaminants that releases, the chemical contaminants releases, also the harmful gases also releases, and particulates also, there will be some particulates in the exhaust, and there will be some biological molecule. Okay, so these are the different types of contaminants that whenever the industries they are giving out. Okay, so air pollution refers to the release of contaminants, chemical or harmful gases, particulates, biological molecules into the atmosphere. Okay. Next, the air pollution. Here, air pollution refers to as the release of harmful contaminants, chemical, toxic gases, particulates, biological molecules into our atmosphere. And these contaminants are quite detrimental and in some cases pose serious health issues. So here you can see that in the air pollution, the contaminants, here all other contaminants we have written in this slide only, we have the toxic gases. These are also important contaminants. Okay. Now some causes that contribute to air pollution are burning of, some causes to contribute the air pollution are burning of the fossil fuels, mining operations, exhaust gases from industries and factories. So here we know that the main causes that contribute the air pollution are the fossil fuels, mining operations, exhaust gases from industries and factories. So here the fossil fuel I'm writing here, a fossil fuel is a hydrocarbon containing material formed naturally in the earth's crust from the remains of dead plants and animals, that is extracted and burned as a fuel. The main fossil fuels are coal, crude oil, and natural gas. Okay, so these are the fossil fuels. Okay, and mining operation, we'll discuss it later on. And exhaust gases from the industries and factories, always there will be some contaminants in this exhaust gases. We have much amount of carbon dioxide, we can have much amount of our biomolecules also, we can have chemicals also, sulfur dioxide also. So that will be released in the atmosphere, and in the volcanic eruption, in the forest fires, in this bigger forest fires, volcanic eruption also. These are the natural causes that contribute to the air pollution. Okay, clear? So clear about fossil fuel? A fossil fuel is a hydrocarbon containing material formed naturally in the earth's crust from the remains of dead plants and animals that is extracted and burned as a fuel. The main fossil fuels are coal, crude oil and natural gas. And you know that in the thermal power plant, thermal power plants, we are using the coal, also petroleum, and also we can use the natural gas also in other plants. Now the impact of air pollution ranges from increased the risk of respiratory illness and cardiovascular problems, and sometimes it causes the lung cancer also. Sometimes it causes the lung cancer also. Increase the risk of skin diseases, cancer, global warming, acid rain, ozone depletion, hazards to wildlife. So these are just, that means the wildlife also, they should have some proportion of the oxygen, but they are not getting if the carbon dioxide is so much high. And it has been seen that due to the pollution, some species, they are going to be extinct. So this air pollution has the impact on all the animals, including the human being. Okay, all the animals, not only the human being. It has the impact on all the animals, and there is a risk of respiratory illness, cardiovascular problems, skin disease, risk of cancer, global warming, acid rain, ozone depletion, hazards to wildlife. So many problems will be there. So many problems will be there. Now, air pollution can bring about the extreme form of global warming called the runaway greenhouse effect. Called the greenhouse effect. Okay, so air pollution, here extreme form of the global warming, that is called the greenhouse effect. Now, types of air pollutants. First is the primary pollutants. And primary pollutants, in this picture you can see that where I should write here, primary pollutants. Here we have carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, we have nitrogen oxide, we can have nitrogen dioxide. So these, most of the hydrocarbons and most suspended particles, also they are primary pollutants. And secondary pollutants, we can have sulfur trioxide, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, we can have H2O2, we can have ozone. So there are so many gases are there. So the secondary pollutants, here the pollutants formed by the intermingling and reaction of the primary pollutants known as the secondary pollutants. Smoke formed by the intermingling of smoke and fog. So this is the smoke, this is the secondary pollutant. This is the secondary pollutant. Okay. Next, the causes of the air pollution. Here you can see that there are different causes are there. First cause, that is the burning of fossil fuels. Now fossil fuels I have described in the last lecture. in the last slide also, the combustion of fossil fuels emits a large amount of sulfur dioxide. So here you can see that the fossil fuels, these after that means the coal, the natural gas, the coal and also the crude oil, by burning of these three, the sulfur dioxide will be released and carbon monoxide released by incomplete combustion of fossil fuels, that results the air pollution. That results the air pollution. That results the air pollution. Okay. Now the automobiles. So this is a major problem in our case. Now whenever we have in our childhood also, in your childhood also, you have seen that some of the persons they have their own car. Now every person they have the car or they are hiring Ola, Uber like this type of cars, and they are personally they are going through this car. So these car or vehicles, these jeeps, trucks, car, buses, all things, they are giving some gases. Gases will be emitted from the vehicles, and these emitted gases, this will cause the air pollution. Sorry, this will cause the air pollution, and these are the major sources of the greenhouse gases. These are the major sources of the greenhouse gases, also the result the disease of any individual. So to avoid these things, we can do a lot of things, so that we can do a lot of things in to avoid the pollutants, to avoid the pollution caused by the automobiles also, we can do it. Now the agricultural activity. Now in our days, we have the modern agricultural activity, right? Modern agricultural activity. That means we are using machineries. For every phase of the agriculture, we are using machineries, and every machinery they require some fuel. They require some fuel. They require some fuel, right? That means there is a burning of the fuel. That means there will be some gases will be emitted, and ammonia is one of the most hazardous gases emitted during the agricultural activities. So ammonia and insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers, this will emit also harmful chemicals in the atmosphere. We nowadays, whatever to get the high yield or to remove the insects, we are using insecticides. We are using insecticides. We are using pesticides, and also we are using fertilizers. We are using fertilizers, and that will emit the harmful chemicals in the atmosphere. Now the mining activity. Here in this picture you can see the mining activity. In the mining process, minerals below the earth are extracted using the large pieces of equipment. So this equipment we are using to extract the different minerals, right? Suppose we have manganese. Suppose we have manganese, we have suppose coal, or we have another type of minerals. So we are using these equipments to extract from the below the earth. Okay. So the dust and chemicals released during the process, that will pollute the air and deteriorate the health of the workers, also people living nearby areas. So these are the mining activities. Now the domestic sources. Domestic sources, here you can see that in daily life what we are doing. We are doing a lot of things, that we are using some carbon dioxide will be released due to the our vehicles. We are using lot of vehicles. The household cleaning products also we are using. Paints we are using that contain the toxic chemical, the paints. Okay, we are using always the paints that will contain the toxic chemicals, and released in the air. So from the paint, we are getting the toxic chemicals, and newly painted walls, you can smell some chemicals present there, and this will be mixed in the air, and that means it will create the air pollution. Now, these hazard effects of the air pollution on the environment include the diseases. Here you can see that the air pollution, respiratory, we are breathing in the atmosphere, right? That means a huge amount of carbon dioxide if you inhale. At that time, the respiratory disorders and heart diseases among the humans, lung cancer that have increased in last few decades. So here you can see that we can have disease that is the respiratory respiratory disorders and heart diseases, and also we can have lung cancer. So these are the different problems. Okay. Next, the children also, they are suffering from the air pollution. Like most of the children nowadays, they have the asthma, and due to the air pollution, they have the pneumonia due to the air pollution. So direct or indirect effects we have on the children also. That means it is not like that the adults only they are affected by the air pollution. For the children, we have the problems we can see that the pneumonia and also the asthma, these are the very normal things. These are the very normal disease nowadays. So here, now first thing, at an individual level, how can you help reduce air pollution? How can you reduce the air pollution? So let me write the answers. Change the ink color first. So here, the following are the steps we can take for reduction of air pollution. Like, we should avoid the usage of personal cars and opt for public transport as much as possible. And we should properly dispose of the garbage and not burn it. For shorter distances, avoid vehicles, or you can use the bicycle. Next, we should control the number of emissions from household chimneys, and vehicles. We should replace our vehicle fuel, diesel, and petrol by LPG and CNG. Sorry, CNG. Okay. Now explain the difference between the pure air and polluted air. The composition of pure air contains 78% nitrogen, 21% 21% oxygen and 0.04% carbon dioxide. Besides this, there are some other gases like methane, argon, inert gases are there, ozone, and water vapors. The air is said to be polluted when the composition of air is altered by the additional harmful substances or gases such as sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and particulate matter. Okay, so till now, this much for today. Thank you all.